welcome to the deep dive. We've built a really fascinating stack of source material for you today, focusing on a figure who I think embodies one of the most profound paradoxes in all of classical mythology, Wenzong.
We are definitely going deep on Wenzong today. He's often called the single greatest loyal minister of the Shang dynasty. But, and this is a big but, he was also a tremendously powerful immortal.
Right, a high-level master of Taoist magic. So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We want you to really get a handle on this spectacular dual nature of the man they called the Pillar of Shang.
He was a top general, a heavyweight administrator, but at the same time, he was a disciple of a powerful celestial order.
Exactly. And the big question is, what's the cosmic reward for that kind of absolute, unwavering loyalty to a cause that was, let's be honest, completely doomed?
And our sources for this, they're drawn heavily from the Investiture of the Gods, gives us this incredible high-stakes profile. We've got excerpts on his political role, his secret immortal training, and of course the dramatic final stand.
And his ultimate, let's call it a promotion, into the divine bureaucracy.
It's a very big promotion.
Okay, so let's start on Earth. Before he was a god, he was the foundation of the Shang state. I mean, his titles alone tell you everything.
They really do. He wasn't just a minister, he was the primary authority. He was the grand tutor, the Taishi, which is, chief administrative and educational officer for the whole empire.
And that's not all.
No. He was also the martial commander king. That combination is key. It tells you he was given total control of state affairs, the guzheng, and all military power, the Bingquan.
So just to put that in perspective for you, this means Wenzong was the one actually running the country and the military, especially when the last Shang ruler, King Zhu, started to go off the rails.
Precisely. Wenzong's reputation for loyalty was set early, but his political peak happens under a ruler who is almost universally described as, well, depraved.
Which is the core conflict, right? Most capable ministers would have just left or joined the rebellion.
But not Wenzong. This is what sets him apart. His defining trait is this absolute, almost painful loyalty. He is the classic loyal minister.
So how did he justify that? How did he stick with such a flawed king?
For him, it was about a core ethical principle. Yunkenji, or ruler-minister righteousness. It wasn't about the man on the throne.
So it's about the institution itself.
It's the highest form of that obligation. The relationship is sacred. His duty was to the throne of Shang, not necessarily to King Zhu the person. And while other ministers broke faith or fled, Wenzong was out there campaigning, holding the kingdom together.
The ultimate public servant. Okay, so that's his mortal identity. But now, this is where it gets really interesting. He had this other life.
This dual role is what makes him so unique in the whole story. It's like discovering that your country's most respected, old-school leader is secretly a grandmaster in some powerful magical order.
So where did he get these powers? What was his spiritual background?
He was a major figure in the Ji tradition, which, you have to remember, is one of the two big Taoist schools fighting for control in the Fengshen Yanyu.
The other being the Chan tradition, which backed the Zhou dynasty.
Exactly. So this isn't just a general with a couple of magic tricks. He is a key player in a massive celestial civil war.
And the Ji tradition, what does that represent?
Well, if the Chan tradition is about rigid hierarchy and, let's say, selective enlightenment, the Ji tradition is often seen as wilder, more inclusive. They call it the 10,000 Immortals tradition.
Yeah, Wenzong trained at their main base.
He trained on Golden Ao Island under the powerful Golden Spirit Holy Mother. Some sources even suggest he was the #1 disciple of the ultimate Ji leader, the Master of Heaven himself.
See, he was operating in the celestial big leagues.
Absolutely. His fight for Shang was directly tied to this bigger cosmic rivalry.
Okay, so what could he actually do? What kind of skills did this training give him?
What's so fascinating is how practical his magic was for a general. He had high-level Taoist magic, sure, but crucially, he was a master of the 5 elements escape.
The what?
The 5 elements escape. It's a skill that lets you use earth, fire, water, wood, and metal to basically teleport. It allows for instantaneous, highly tactical movement.
So he could just vanish from a battle and reappear at the capital.
In the blink of an eye. So you have a general, a statesman, and like you said, a magically empowered special operative all in one. He must have been terrifying on the battlefield.
Let's paint a picture of him, because his look is so iconic.
It really is. He was designed to project authority. The sources describe him with a really severe, majestic look. Meimu Wayan.
And he wore silver armor.
Silver armor and helmet, but over these deep purple robes, which was the color of a top official. When he rode into battle, he was the Shang state,
Ew.
unyielding.
And his gear was just as impressive. Let's start with his mount, the Inquilin.
Ugh, the ink quillin. It was essential for this kind of warfare. It wasn't just a horse. It was a mythological beast that could fly 1,000 li in an instant.
Because his enemies could fly too.
Right, you can't command a celestial war from a regular horse. But even the Qilin couldn't escape fate. It was eventually killed by Lei Zhenzi, one of the Zhu's flying generals.
A sign of things to come.
A very clear sign that his personal power wasn't enough to stop the tide.
And his weapon. Or weapons, I should say. The Jialong Golden Whips.
Yes, whips plural. They're highly symbolic. A dual set, said to have come from 2 mythological dragons, one yin, one yang.
So it's about balance.
Exactly. It mirrors his own balanced command of civil and military affairs. But one of those wicks has a very famous tragic fate.
It gets broken.
Aye, it does. The female whip is eventually shattered by Jiang Ziya's god-smashing whip. And think about what that means. The very symbol of Wenzong's power is broken by the artifact of the enemy leader. It's a physical sign of Sheng's decline.
So with his mythic whips and his flying Qilin, he's leading this desperate defense against the Zhu forces.
And he was a tactical genius. The sources praise him as being complete in both civil and military. He frustrated the Zhu army again and again.
He wasn't just defending one place either. He was all over the map.
He was the ultimate troubleshooter, defending Three Mountains Pass, Deer Platform Pass, all these critical choke points. And his fights were incredibly complex. He'd be in a mortal duel with a general 1 minute.
And then fighting an immortal disciple the next.
Simultaneously. It was just a relentless fight against overwhelming odds, all driven by that unbreakable loyalty.
Which brings us to his final magnificent stand. This is his defining moment.
It is the ultimate tragic validation of everything he stood for.
And he knew it was over, didn't he? He knew the war was lost.
Oh, absolutely. The sources are clear. He knew that Shang's fate was sealed. But he refused to leave his post. He gave his martyr's oath. A minister dies for his ruler. That is his destiny.
That was at Jipai Pass. How did that final battle go down?
He was a storm of destruction. He used one of his most powerful artifacts, the 9 Dragons' divine fire cover, and defeated multiple immortal generals sent just to stop him.
He made them pay for every inch.
He did. But in the end, he was overwhelmed, not by one person, but by a coordinated attack from the most powerful Chan immortals. They had to send their best, people like Qi Jingzi and Guang Chengzi, to finally take him down.
And he never surrendered.
He preferred death. Ningxi Buqiang, his loyalty was absolute right to his last breath. He died a martyr's death, in the right place for the right cause, according to his own code.
So he dies for a failed king. But in the strange logic of the Fengshen cosmology, that service, it doesn't go unnoticed. What was the cosmic reward for that loyalty?
This is where it all pays off. His death was a transition. That loyalty was so pure that he was granted one of the highest possible positions on the investiture of the gods.
He wasn't just made some minor deity. He became the boss of a primal force of nature.
Precisely. He was sealed as the chief deity of the Thunder Department. But listen to his full title. The 9 Heavens Responding Source Thunder Sound Universal Transformation Heavenly Venerable.
Wow. That's a mouthful.
People just call him Lei Zhu, the Thunder Ancestor.
That is a staggering promotion. Why thunder, specifically? What's the connection?
Well, thunder in this cosmology represents supreme, impartial justice. It's the sound of the universe executing judgment. And Wenzong, the embodiment of unwavering authority and rigid adherence to duty, was the perfect candidate to wield that power.
So his earthly virtue was translated into a cosmic role?
Perfectly.
Yeah.
His job on Earth was holding the line and executing the will of the state. Now his job is celestial. He commands 24 thunder generals, and he manages, well, everything. Kuiyun Buyu, Sing Lei Ji Dian.
What do you mean?
Controlling clouds, bringing rain, striking thunder, and flashing lightning. He's the CEO of Cosmic Enforcement.
This has been a true deep dive into a character who is just this perfect storm of abilities. Civil competence, military genius, magical power, and that unbelievable loyalty.
He's the ultimate proof, in this narrative at least, that human political virtue can be so profound that the universe itself rewards it, elevating you far above the flawed king you served.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to explore on your own. Consider this. When Zhong's earthly loyalty to a failed mortal king was so absolute that it transcended the mortal world and gave him control over thunder itself, the force of cosmic law. So what does it mean when human virtue is rewarded with such raw, unpredictable power? What's the real connection between earthly service and celestial destiny? We'll leave you with that.